I have a very serious question.
Yeah.
So according to Islamic standards, what is the most expensive black cat you've seen?
I had to do a lot of research on that. It's a tough question.
Because like obviously straggles are expensive. You have a mix on your head. Like those clearly are expensive.
The black hat's nowhere near. No, thank you
But I
very
just
much.
wanted to know if you wanted to top of the line black cat, how much are you looking to spend?
$250.
Oh, that's nothing. Considering a woman shackles give you a few grand. Everything's so expensive all the time. They should stop. I'd like to.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I thought you said.
We're continuing on page 16. And on top of the page, we said yesterday, Zerizus means that a person should work on developing the character traits of doing things quickly, meaning to say, not to do things quickly, but to get to do things quickly, not to push things off, not to delay. If it's a good thing, then not to push it off. So the Mishnah says, Imlo Akshav Eimasa, which means of not now, when. So the simple meaning of those words are that very often something good, an opportunity comes up to do something positive, and I don't take advantage of the opportunity. And as a result of that, by saying I'll do it tomorrow, next day, next week, tomorrow, next day, or next week, I won't be able to do it, and I lost the opportunity. So that's the simple meaning of the words. Imlo aksha, but not now. Emasai, when? What's the problem when? When? Tomorrow. But the answer is, the Mishnah is saying in different words, if you don't do it now, who knows if you'll do it tomorrow or next week. So this is connected to a story in Gemara. There was someone called Rab Nachum Ish Gamzu. He was one of the sages. So obviously we're talking about someone who is a big tzaddik, and not only one of the sages, he's one of the outstanding sages, but he had a story, very tragic story. And that is that he was approached by someone, a poor person, and said he's very hungry. Could you please give me a piece of bread? And he was riding on a donkey, so he just sort of parked. And he said, let me just settle the donkey, the saddle, and I'll soon give you a piece of bread. So he went on, I guess, organizing whatever he needed to organize there. And then suddenly the person collapsed and the person died. And for the rest of his life, he didn't stop doing tshuva because he felt that had I given the person something to eat a little bit earlier, it wouldn't have happened. So even though it's a concept that applies to all mitzvahs, that it's always good to do it early and not to leave it up for later, but especially when it comes to tzedakah. Because here you're giving money to help a person, chas v'shalom, if you don't do it in the right time, who knows if you'll have the opportunity to do it later. Sometimes it could be for good reasons. There's a mitzvah to visit someone that's sick. You keep pushing it off until they're no longer sick. You can't visit them anymore. You could visit them, but it won't be birko cholim. It won't be the mitzvah of visiting a sick person. But when it comes to tzedakah, it's especially important not to delay, whether it's tzedakah in a physical sense or tzedakah in a spiritual sense. Who knows if this person will be there for me to help them a day later or a few hours later. So therefore, if you have the opportunity, do it now. In fact, this answers a very interesting question. I wonder if anybody ever thought of this question. We know that besides making a bracha before we eat food, we also make brachas before we perform mitzvahs, right? Make a bracha before we light candles. Make a bracha before we wash our hands. Make a bracha before we eat matzah. Make a bracha before we shake the lulav and esrog, before we blow the shofar. How is it that such a major mitzvah like tzedakah, and we don't make a bracha before we give tzedakah? We should make a bracha in the morning at least once for the entire day. Baruch atah Hashem, Elokeinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvosav, v'tzivanu litain tzedakah. Even for learning, you know that you're not allowed to learn unless you make a bracha. So we make the bracha in the morning. We don't have to repeat it a second time because the bracha in the morning is something which applies for the rest of the day. But tzedakah, we don't even do it in the morning. Why shouldn't there be an obligation, at least at a certain point, to make a bracha before we give tzedakah? So one of the answers to this is because, especially tzedakah, we shouldn't delay. And if a person would have to make a bracha before they give tzedakah, it would delay the tzedakah that he's supposed to be giving. And especially, I think the Rebbe once said this, especially if it's a chassid. So he says, oh, I'm going to do this great mitzvah of tzedakah now. Let me get ready, put on my gartel. Maybe I'll run to the mikveh before and purify myself and have all the intentions, Baruch atah Hashem, and think what it means and all the different. By the time you're finished, unfortunately, the guy might not be there anymore. So when it comes to tzedakah, sorely we don't delay. We try to do it as soon as possible. Now, there is a time that's designated for giving tzedakah. There are a few times. One of the times are, especially for a woman, is to give before candle lighting. In Chabad, there's a custom to give it specifically for a very specific tzedakah, which is called Kol Chabad. I'm sure you have it in the dorm near the candles. This was a fund that was established by the Alter Rebbe, and it was specifically to provide food, clothing, and whatever necessary for families who moved to live in Eretz Yisrael. So it's specifically to give tzedakah for Jews who live in Eretz Yisrael. In fact, there are many, many letters in the Tanya. You know, the fourth volume of Tanya's letters. These are letters where the Alter Rebbe is encouraging people to give tzedakah for this purpose. It's called Kolel Chabad. And so this is a tzedakah fund that's over 250 years old. And the custom of Chabad is that before Shabbos, before Yom Tov, before candle lighting, that's the appropriate time to put tzedakah into that pushka specifically for this purpose. For it's instrumental in sort of building the land of Israel by doing that. So we do that on Fridays before Shabbos. The other time to give tzedakah, which is an opportune time, is before davening in the morning. Naturally, any time of the day is okay to give tzedakah. Of course, if someone stops you and says, please help me, could you give me tzedakah? It's a mitzvah not to close your hand and to give it to them. The Rebbe also instituted a custom, you might learn about it in the Jewish home class, that in every kitchen there should be a pushka fixed onto the wall in the kitchen. And to give tzedakah when you have an opportunity in the kitchen. So then the soup will come out better and the potatoes and meatballs will come out better. You give tzedakah. So let's go to number two. Number two is another source for this principle to do mitzvahs as early as possible. So here is an interesting thing. I have to show this to you on the board. The Hebrew word how would you read this word? What? So it's the same letter. You can either read it as mitzvahs or matzos. So in the Chumash it says these words, ushmartem, which means you should watch. Ushmartem, you should watch the matzos. Shmartem. You heard the term shmura matzah? Shmura comes from this word, or shmarta. What are you supposed to watch? It shouldn't become sour. So the Gemara says, but there's another lesson here. Ushmartem es mitzvahs. You should watch the mitzvahs, that the mitzvahs shouldn't become sour. And if a mitzvah comes to your hands, if there's an opportunity to do a mitzvah, don't let it become sour, which means do it as early as you can. Because imlo akshav, if not now, who knows if I'll be able to do it later. That's what it means. Now there's another reason. Yes.
You were just talking about like giving tzedakah, right? Like at different times before, like cooking and things like that to like elevate it. But I guess I'm wondering if you like forget, is it like bad juju?
No. Giving tzedakah at other times, there's no designated time that you have to and you must.
Yeah.
It's just a nice thing to do. And it's not only just to elevate the food, it's to bring more bracha into my cooking. The cooking will be good, it'll be tasty, it'll be healthy. But of course, giving tzedakah in general helps a person. You do it right before the cooking, it'll help your cooking. But there's nothing at all that would be considered, I'm doing something wrong if I don't do that. Not at all.
So if you like forget to bring like a coin down before you light like Shabbos candles, you shouldn't beat yourself up for it. You just say, I'll try next time.
Never beat yourself up for anything. That's not a good idea in general, but that is something which is best to do. Now, if it's possible that one of your friends brought money to give tzedakah and she has some extra coins, then you say, could you put it in for the pushka for me? No, I'll pay you back after Shabbos. But you don't have to beat yourself up about anything. Everything has hashgacha pratis. If I missed out, I missed out. We'll make it up next week. There's a chapter in Tanya, in the 4th volume of Tanya, where the Alter Rebbe talks about the importance of giving tzedakah and the importance of giving it earlier rather than later. And he brings out another point, which we didn't mention yet. The other point is like this. The Gemara says that amongst all the mitzvahs, tzedakah is one of the most powerful mitzvahs to bring protection to a person. There's a famous quote. I didn't write it down here, but there's a quote, tzedakah tatzel mimavis. That even if, God forbid, there was a heavenly decree that this person's life, God forbid, has to end on that day, it's through tzedakah, you could cancel the decree. You could delete it. In fact, you might remember from Rosh Hashanah, that is one part of the davening, the whole shul shouts together. There are 3 things that they could eliminate or cancel a decree. Tshuva, tefillah, and tzedakah. Tshuva, I do tshuva for whatever I did wrong, of course. Tefillah means prayer. And the 3rd thing is tzedakah. So tzedakah is very, very powerful. So what if, God forbid, something was decreed to happen to a person on Tuesday? And now it's Monday. I'm thinking I'd like to give tzedakah. Oh, I'll give it Thursday. So even though it's not such a big deal from Monday to Thursday, but if something was meant to happen Tuesday, if I give tzedakah before Tuesday, I'll prevent that from happening. If I give tzedakah after Tuesday, chas v'shalom, that thing that's meant to happen will happen. To give you an example, yes.
Does that count for when you do it in the merit of someone? Like if God forbid that something was supposed to happen to that person, you gave it in their merit?
Sure. That's why people always say they're giving tzedakah in the merit for someone to be well, or merit for someone, that whatever they're doing should be successful. Yeah.
Like a penny a day, keep tzedakah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. A penny a day to tzedakah, not to piggy bank. Yeah, okay. So there's a story. Yes, want to say something? No. There's a story in Gemara. Yes.
I just have like a random practical question. Basically, I don't use cash, so I never have coins. Is there somewhere in Crown Heights that I can give like a $5 bill and get like a boatload of coins?
Any store, any bank,
They give you
rolls.
Really? Yeah. Just bring them like $1 bill and be like, fine. They just give me the roll?
Yeah, or like any coffee store.
Wow,
they
this must
give
be
them
2021. Yeah.
I know.
You just
Like
because I asked a few places and they're like, what do you want me to do? Just give you points? And I was like, yeah. And they were like, we don't do that.
Right. Most of the stores won't do that, but the banks will do that. If you have an account there. If you don't, they might charge you something for a little something. But you walk into a bank, give them $10, $50, and ask them, they'll give you rolls of quarters, dimes, nickels, whatever you ask for. Yeah. So where was I? Oh, the story of Rabbi Akiva's daughter is an example. I think it came up in class earlier about something else, but let me mention the story again. Rabbi Akiva's daughter was getting married, and this is a story in Gemara. There was a stargazer that told his students that he sees in the stars that this woman who's getting married today, it's unfortunately going to be the last day of her life. The next day, there she is, walking through the streets, happily married, and the students say to him, you see, your things are not accurate. He says, no, it can't be. I saw it clearly in the stars. So he went to her house and he told her what happened. He said, I want to ask you for a favor. Give me an opportunity to search your house. He searched her house and he found a poisonous snake near her bed. When she went to sleep, she had a hat with a pin. Apparently, she was supposed to stick the pin into the wood, and instead she stuck it into the eyes of the snake without even realizing that she killed the snake. So he said, you see, something was meant to happen, but apparently in the last minute, you killed the snake, so it didn't happen. She was the daughter of Rabbi Akiva, so she told her father the story. And Rabbi Akiva said to her, my daughter, there's something you did at your wedding. What did you do at your wedding that was special? The only thing she could think of was that at the wedding, people always set aside food for poor people. We're having a wedding, we're enjoying ourselves, and here there are people that are homeless, that are poor. So we put aside food just for them to have, they should also be happy. But I saw that nobody was taking care of them. So I went, the Kala went, and she took care of all the poor people. So he told her, in this merit, your life was saved. In other words, what happened to her, what was supposed to happen, we don't know why. We know that in the heavenly court, on Rosh Hashanah, it must have been decreed that on that day, this is going to happen to her. But because she gave tzedakah on that day, it saved her life. What if she would say, I'm going to do an act of kindness in a week from now? It wouldn't have had that effect. Yes, Sarah.
How do you not go crazy over this? Like, to know, like, okay, well, if I would have given that extra coin, then like maybe like it would prevent me from happening. Like, how do you not like go like OCD about it? Like,
the way not to go crazy about this or anything else, at least we as religious Jews, is by recognizing that before something happens, I have to make the right choices. After something happens, I have to firmly believe if it happened, there Hashem has a plan why this has happened, and ultimately it'll only lead to good results. And I shall not eat myself up and not beat myself up, and to realize obviously it was meant to happen. So whether it happens because someone else was negligent or it happened because I was negligent, if it did happen at the end of the day, it was meant to happen.
Rabbi Majeski, does it matter how much we give, or like?
Generally speaking, no.
Really interesting.
The only thing that matters is on a larger scale, it says that people should give tzedakah according to their earnings. In other words, if someone like Bill Gates would give $500 tzedakah a year, it would matter because according to your earnings, you should be giving much more tzedakah. And the same with all of us. That's why we're supposed to give a tenth and so on. But whether I give a lot or a little, giving tzedakah is always a very powerful mitzvah that has this powerful
So if
effect.
I'm cooking soup and I put a penny into the tzedakah cup versus if I put a quarter in, the soup will be just as good. The mitzvah is the
Maybe
same.
a penny worth less, maybe. No, it will be just as good. It's tzedakah. The
Okay,
main thing is it's tzedakah.
as long as by the end of the month I've done 10%.
Yeah, that's another account. Yes.
so what do you do if you're at the store and they say, do you want to donate this much charity? You accidentally press no, like it's like round up to donate charity. You accidentally press no. And then after you're done, you're like, oh, I should like, how do you like tell yourself it's okay?
Don't do it, that's so the company can get a tax
Yeah,
rate
tax, the company will get a tax break on
Okay,
you doing
but
it.
like,
Gives you
okay,
the-
aside from like the actual thing though, but like, if you're doing that, if you're at chocolate latte and there's Pushka right there, and I don't know, you just like, we're trying to figure out like if I should put it, I don't know, putting it, whatever it is. And so you put it in, or you don't put, like, let's say you don't put it in, and then you're sitting there going like, oh no, like if I would have like given this penny to the Cancer Society, maybe that would prevent me from having cancer. Like, I don't know, like, how do you not think?
We
like that?
have to train our mind to think only positive. If we're going to think, what if this happens? We can imagine any scenario, God forbid, be busy a whole day being miserable. That's not the way a healthy mind should be. We should be focusing on positive things and thinking positive things. And in fact, we said this many times, if you think positive, it'll be positive. So when a thought comes to your mind, oh, I didn't give tzedakah, who knows, maybe this would have prevented this and this. I say to myself, stop thinking negative. Goodbye, delete. You know how you do with the phone when something comes up, go like that, and you push it off like that. Number 4, Rotz Katzvi. So this is from the Shulchan Aruch. Actually, the source of this is Pirkei Avos, a later chapter, where remember we said that it says in the Shulchan Aruch, this is the opening remarks of the whole code of Jewish law. We should learn from 4 animals, the lion, a leopard, a deer, and an eagle. What do we learn from the deer? Rotz Katzvi, run like a deer. When it comes to doing mitzvahs, we should run like a deer, and that is the attribute of Zerizus. Number 5, Haviratz lemitzvah kala kebachamura is a statement also in Pirkei Avos. Run to do a light mitzvah like a severe one, a light mitzvah like a harsh one, which means there's certain mitzvahs that in the Torah, it's considered a light mitzvah. It's not something that's so stringent, something that there's any major punishment for it. So people might make differences. For this, I should run. For this, I can take my time. So the Mishnah says, no, the concept of zrizus, even though I just gave a whole explanation of why tzedakah, especially, but the truth is the principle of zrizus applies to all mitzvahs. Okay, so I think with this we've completed Mishnah 14. So now we'll go to Mishnah 15. So let's go back to the front, the beginning of the booklet. Let's see what it says in Mishnah 15. Shammai Omer. Remember, the previous Mishnah spoke about the 2 greatest leaders of that generation was Hillel and Shammai. So here he says, this is what Shammai used to say. And he said 3 things. One is, Asay Torascha Kva, which means make your Torah study something regular. We'll soon see what that means. A second thing is, Emer Ma'at Vasei Harbe, which means speak less and do more. The third thing is, have a mekabel es kol ha'adam b'sever panim yafis. You should always greet every person with a pleasant face. These are 3 separate things. They're in one Mishnah, and each one is something important for us to know the way we should be conducting ourselves. What does the first one mean? Asay torascha kva. So let's go back to the booklet. And on top of the page, it says, this is the language used in Gemara. Top of the page, it says, Kviyas itim l'Torah, setting aside time for Torah study. And that's what it means. Kva means to make something a fixed time. There's certain things in life that are not so important, and it's sort of random. I have time, I'll do it. I don't have the time, I don't do it. When it comes to Torah study, a person should designate time, whether it's every day, whatever the time is, but a certain designated time, and it should be something that's fixed. It shouldn't be moved around, and it shouldn't be something which one day yes, one day not, and that's called kviyus. Yes,
Does like studying here count as like a fixed time for Torah?
absolutely. It starts 8:30
Not like
and
you-
finishes at 3. Yeah, if you come, yeah. This is definitely fixed time. This term is used mainly not for people that are Torah students, but people that are working. They go to have a job and they work. They come home at the end of the day, they're exhausted, they're tired. But nevertheless, they make a time every day to study something in Torah. In fact, it says in Gemara that one of the first questions a person is asked when it comes to the heavenly court after his life is completed is number 2. This is the expression Gemara. Kovaita itim lete, did you set aside time for Torah study? So while on this subject, again, what does it mean set aside time? It means it's a little bit like you said about going to school or work. If a person has a job, so that's something which is fixed. I have to be at work every day from 9 to 5. What if something comes up? I'll either do it earlier or I'll do it later. Or if I won't do it on this day, I'll do it on Sunday when I don't work, but I have to be at work. Something which is not kviyus means that it shifts, it gets moved around. Oh, today I have to do this, so I won't do my learning. Tomorrow I have to do that, I won't do my learning. So the Mishnah is saying, make Torah something that's fixed. But there's an interesting story with the Alter Rebbe, and it's related to this subject, and that's the meaning of number 3. It says, kviyas benefesh, kviyas bizman. You can fix time in the soul, or you can fix it in time. It sounds like Chinese. Let me try to explain what that means. There's a story, a lot of details to this story. I think we'll talk about that a little bit later in the year. But right now, I just want to stick to this part, where someone once asked the Alter Rebbe that in our community, we talk a lot about setting aside time for learning. And I know in your community, based on the study of Chassidus, you also talk about having a set time for learning. What's the difference between our approach and your approach? So his answer was that your approach is a kviyas in zman. My approach, or the approach of Chassidus, is a kviyas in the soul, in the nefesh. What does that mean? It means like this. There's a possibility of someone that every day, if he makes up his mind that he's going to have a shir learning Torah 8 o'clock every day, he'll be there every day 8 o'clock. Rain, shine, hail, snow, he'll be there. But it's more of it's fixed in time, meaning this is a person that's very disciplined with time. And because of that, he's able to make sure that he doesn't skip whatever he made up, he sticks to it, and he's there. You know, they say that in Germany, everything is very punctual with time. And German Jews, because they grew up in Germany, also very punctual with time. I once spent Shabbos in a family up in Washington Heights. There are German Jews there. And the people that I was staying by told me that we have 2 types of punctual people. Some that are punctual and some that are super punctual. And he gave me an example. He said, the super punctual people, they announced Friday night that tomorrow davening is starting 8:30. Even if the shul is empty, the chazan will walk over and start the prayers at 8:30 with an empty shul. But then we have some that are not so punctual. They'll start at 8:33. But 8:33. So it could be a person who's very disciplined with time, and he's always there, and that's why he sticks to the time that he set aside for learning. But it's not something deep. It's not something spiritual. I'll get to you in a second. The other thing is, it's not about time. It's about me, that my commitment to Torah, my dedication to Torah, the feeling that I must learn is so deep and so strong that naturally I'm not going to miss a time. It's a little bit like you would say, for example, every day we eat lunch in the afternoon. At least most people do. Eat lunch in the afternoon. And it's not just a matter of, well, there's a time for lunch, I have to be disciplined with time. If I don't eat, I get hungry. My body demands the food. I feel that I'm missing something. There's something deficient. I didn't eat today. So in a sense, Kriyas B'nefesh means that I've done something to myself internally, that I've created such a bond with Torah that I feel the need and the desire to study Torah, and that's why it's something permanent, not something that gets moved around. You understand the difference between the two things? Yes, what did you want to say?
What if you're someone who is like the opposite of like this like German Jews and has like a big issue with like having stuck to like a certain schedule and like it's like not just with like Torah study but like with all things and it's what is like the idea then? Because like saying just take a set time to stick to it isn't so easy.
To a certain extent, it's not necessarily the time, 8 o'clock. It could be the idea. Every day I study Torah. I don't allow a day to go by without studying. What time in the day? I can work that out. In other words, in the first case, the commitment is to the time. The second case, the commitment is a spiritual commitment to Torah. That's the difference. I don't know if I'll explain myself properly, but they tell the story that a person was going on a trip, traveling. He called up his travel agent and said, could you please book me a ticket? I'm going to Europe, but make sure that I have a seat near the window. This is before the days that people just went online and made your own bookings. So the travel agent says, okay, I arranged a seat near the window. So the person calls him up a half an hour later. Are you sure that I have a seat near the window? Yes, there's a seat near the window. Every 20 minutes to half an hour, he calls him again to make sure, and he's very annoyed. I told you already there's a seat near the window. Finally, the day comes, he gets on the plane, and guess what? The seat is not near the window. And he's on the plane, he's furious, he's exploding, he's so angry, and he swears that next time he's never going to use this person again. And after he comes back home, he goes straight to his office, before he even goes home, and he's pounding on the table and he's screaming at him, how dare you, you promised me, and I asked you so many times. And he's quiet. When he finishes, he says, let me ask you a simple question. If it means so much to you that you should be sitting near the window, couldn't you ask the person by the window to change places with you? He said, no, there was nobody there. What I mean to say is there's some people, if they get on the plane, it says B2, that they follow orders. It doesn't matter if someone's there or not there. I have to sit on B2. I can't sit on B1. It's a commitment to the piece of paper. It's not really, and God forbid, I shouldn't say God forbid, it's still a good thing. Person could be committed to study Torah, but it's more about disciplining myself with time rather than developing this deep inner bond with the Torah. That's my point. Okay, to be continued.
It's also good for balancing the plane.
For balancing the plane?
Balancing and to make sure that you don't, if it's like crashes across the shoulder.
Oh,
they
no,
know who
not
you
again.
If you're really real, so like, where's Sarah Milligan? I don't know who she's next to, then my family doesn't know.
Sarah Milligan, we're no longer entertaining such thoughts.
You have to ask permission first. Make sure that you balance the plane.
When you get such a thought, just think about a nice trip to Florida, sunny Florida, you enjoy yourself under a palm tree. Change the picture. Yes.
And